Hello and welcome to Breakfast All Day. How's it going? Good to see you. I am Christy. That is Matt. That is Alonso. One of these days, we'll get a movie about Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. Until then, we have Jungle Cruise.
Well, there was the live action Wind in the Willows that Terry Jones directed that Disney then on home video called Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, but that was kind of a cheat.
Is there real? That's not really okay. How about
you can't count the rides. You can't count the rides based on movies.
Yeah, the teacup
movies based on rides, you mean?
Right, but you can't. Right, we're not going to get a movie based on a ride based on a movie.
Oh, never say never.
Anyway,
but I hear what you're saying.
There's a Jungle Cruise movie.
Yes, and I do have to point out my mug today is from Trader Sam's. Trader Sam's, the tiki bar at Disneyland. Okay. And Trader Sam, who makes an appearance in the movie.
Oh,
yeah,
that's an Easter egg. All right. Anyway, so Alonso's going to describe Jungle Cruise.
Yeah. Okay. So Emily Blunt is real smart, but not being taken seriously in World War I-ish era London. She is convinced that there is an orchid that grows in the jungle that will cure all disease, the tears of the moon. She drags her tag-along brother along, who's a bit of a fop, and then we find out later an actual gay person, at least in countries where they don't overdub his lines into being something else entirely, which you know is going to happen. To South America, and they hire who else but Dwayne Johnson to take them to where they need to go on his suffering riverboat with a terrible CGI Jaguar. Dwayne Johnson tells all the corny jokes that you would imagine the guy who drives the boat in the Jungle Cruise to tell, only not as well as the people who do it at Disneyland. There's supposed to be a romance between The Rock and Emily Blunt, but they have zero chemistry.
Oh, you're wrong.
And there's supposed to be adventure and excitement, but there is none. Just a lot.
You're wrong.
A lot of volume and a lot of terrible CG ghosts that are right out of the Pirates of the Caribbean. This movie wants to be the African Queen. It is barely Alan Quatermain and the Lost City of Gold.
Alonso, you ignorant slut.
Sorry, Matt, you're wrong.
Okay, so admittedly, this movie pulls from the African Queen and Romancing the Stone and the Mummy. And elements, and Medicine Man, and elements of even Pirates of the Caribbean. There's, all kinds of garbage that it's put into one, or not garbage, but it's like it mixes a whole bunch of stuff together.
You were right the first time.
Garbage
that doesn't necessarily belong together, but I think it kind of works. I absolutely do. I think you're completely wrong about the chemistry between Dwayne Johnson and Emily Blunt. They are sniping at each other left and right, and it totally works. I think that actually transcends the problems that the movie has in a lot of places, and that's what makes it watchable, is the relationship between them and the brother to a certain extent. I had a fun time watching this, and watching The Rock sell those awful jokes, which I helped write, as you can tell. I did not, but should have. It worked for me. Now, I will say I was watching this with Gabe and Jen at one point, she's like, yeah, this movie's fine if you're a child. And Gabe and I kind of looked at each other and were somewhat insulted, but that's okay. I like this. I am surprised. There's one particular scene that is filled with so much double entendre, it almost stops being a Disney movie.
Can you elaborate without giving it away?
There's a scene where one character has to pull something attached to another character. Yes. And very, now, granted, I think that what's his name playing Prince Joachim?
Jesse Plemons.
Oh,
I liked him.
Jesse Plemons, I think, is in the wrong movie a little bit.
He's very serious. He's taking this very seriously.
He's very serious. Like, he really wants to be Toth from Raiders of the Lost Ark. He really wants to be. This movie's flawed, but it's a damn sight better than, say, Haunted Mansion or Country Bears.
This is the scale? Sure, yes.
It's better than the last Pirates movie we got.
Also, maybe.
I thought this kind of worked. Look, like there's a lot more that could have gone wrong here, and I think they got some stuff right, and it kind of worked.
That's a fantastic blurb. So I did watch this with a couple of children, Matt. I watched this with two 11-year-olds, Nick and his best friend, and they weren't really all that into it from the beginning. And the stuff that I like about it is stuff that they couldn't possibly know, like how bizarre and inspired the casting of Jesse Plemons is in this movie, and how much I enjoyed like how totally committed he is to this like over the top German. What is it? He's like a dictator. Well, who is he? In it?
He's like Kaiser Wilhelm's son or something.
Right. And it's a little, okay, so it's a little early to have U-boats on the river.
I'm not even getting into questions of like credibility or,
No, there's a certain amount that like, yes, leave any.
There are ghosts made of bees in this movie. Like you can't really nitpick it on a factual level.
Well, honey.
But I'll tell you what, though, once we get to the big cacophonous third act action extravaganza, at one point I turned to Nick and Sean and I'm like, do you guys have any idea what's going on here? And they're both like, no.
I did.
Like,
it's cacophonous from the jump.
It's just, I mean, I am with Matt in that I enjoyed some of the Dwayne Johnson and Emily Blunt chemistry. They are both supremely overqualified for this, but they have a few nice moments with each other, and I enjoyed the close. The whole stuff with the brother it's funny, like the line they walk with that is simultaneously like over the top and like pulling back. Like they want to have it both ways. They want him to be super effeminate and the butt of jokes in the way that so many characters have been over the years who are intended as gay characters without saying that, right? But here he comes really darn close to spelling it out without spelling it out.
No.
Right? So and an uncomfortable middle ground with him. I
seriously, I bet you within the next 2 weeks we're going to be hearing reports from like Russia and like the usual suspects that like that entire speech was dubbed to mean something else entirely. It's what they did to the lesbian cop in Onward. Remember, who had like the one line. It's the people who snipped out the 2 seconds of Beauty and the Beast. Like that, I guarantee you that is going to. There are certain territories of the world that will never know that character was intended to be gay and not just a stock British fop. But whatever. That doesn't even enter into it. I found this movie just so loud and obnoxious, and I like The Rock and I like Emily Blunt separately. I don't think that together they have anything. Hang on, Matt. I think Jesse Plemons is one of our finest actors, and I felt bad for him this entire movie because he's committing to nonsense. Paul Giamatti at least has a better sense of like overacting in the kind of movie that he's in, where I was like, all right, I get where this is going and what you're doing here. But yeah, I just found this movie just crushingly like just one boulder after another, and I didn't have much fun at all.
I think it's unfortunate that it's kind of a misstep casting The Rock in this, because I think The Rock, having done 2 similar movies in the Jumanji series, and those movies are so much better than this. Those are excellent, fun, comic adventure movies, that this one is a couple steps beneath. I think it's still worthy, but it's the problem. It's hard to not think of those, and I think they would have been better off. Like if you need, I think this movie would be getting maybe better reviews with somebody like a John Cena in there, where you don't have the baggage of the Jumanji movies. That being said, I thought he was funny. I thought he sold the stupid jokes just fine, and I liked that of all people, the brother starts to like them.
I think that there's a way for him to be funny in movies that doesn't always, like, I don't know if it's how he's directed or whatever, but like you think of something like Central Intelligence, where he's very funny. But then you think of like that second Journey to the Center of the Earth movie, or Baywatch, where it's just like where he's not funny at all and he's trying to be. So like I don't know what the circumstances that need to occur to have him deliver as a comic actor, but they're not happening here. We should mention
broad. It's too broad.
Yeah, or it's a kind of like the hoary dad jokes of the Jungle Cruise are maybe not exactly in his wheelhouse, or at least the way he's delivering them.
I totally is.
We should mention this is directed by Jaume Collet-Serra.
I was going to say that.
One of my favorite sort of junky directors right now. Like all of my favorite dumb Liam Neeson movies that aren't taken are his. And he did Orphan, and I love the shamelessness of the way he does genre stuff. And I think here he's just sort of lost in the big giant crushing Disney machine. And I would have liked more of his signature brand of like kind of trashy genre fun.
Can you imagine Neeson in this? That would have been amazing.
No patience for any of the puns, but there are moments here and there where like
Tommy Lee Jones, come on.
There are moments here where you see the possibility of what could have been. Like there's a whole sequence with Emily Blunt early on in the like uptight, stuffy museum, and it's like it's very slapsticky and playful, and there's a lot of like intricate physical comedy that has to go on. And in moments like that, I had some hope for this because there's a sensibility to it, and there's a care in it that is missing elsewhere when it just becomes big and noisy and unintelligible. Like the whole big climactic thing that happens at the end, it's dark. And the rules as to what happens with the thing the
internal
MacGuffin,
logic gets thrown out the window.
Yeah, the rules with the MacGuffin that they're all after keep changing, and it's so hard to follow because it is dark and it's at night and it's just mayhem and nonsense. And I felt like the intricacy of some of the earlier playful physical comedy is just totally obliterated by the end, and it was frustrating for me. Because they're up for it. Emily Blunt doing Mary Poppins is clearly up for the physicality and playfulness that this kind of movie requires.
Yeah, no, I think you could do this movie even with The Rock. I think if there was somebody else, at the till, if you will, and I think maybe this, and if it weren't attached to this ride, or at least if it wasn't designated to be this like big booming dumbness, I don't know. I think. Yeah, you're right. You see the pieces of a movie in here that could have been something, but what they wound up with, I just did not care for.
Did we say the name Édgar Ramírez yet?
No. We did not. As a
Édgar Ramírez.
Get it? As Aguirre, the conquistador ghost. I'm glad that he and Paul Giamatti and Jesse Plemons, I'm sure, got very nicely paid for this because they do a lot of great like indie stuff that no one sees, and so like I'm sure Édgar Ramírez did not like cash in making Olivier Assayas's movie about the Cuban exiles. So like great, get paid, but man, this movie sucks.
What is your number, Alonso?
Go to 4.5, which seems real generous, but that's where we are.
You said 4.
4 it is.
Somebody complained on YouTube that we can't remember our own numbers, but a lot happens and the brain can only hold so much.
Yeah, and the numbers are generally pointless.
And sometimes they're fluid. We change our minds sometimes. I'm saying 4.8. Alonso says 4. Matt, what is yours?
6.5.
Stick with that. We are 5.1.
Yes. So Jungle Cruise is in theaters and will cost you $30 on Disney Plus. Take your pick. Yeah, I know. I know. Thanks for watching. Like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us at BeFastAllDay on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and check out our Patreon at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. Big week talking about Ted Lasso, and it's our monthly Off the Menu. We had several films from the late great Richard Donner that we asked our subscribers to choose, and we'll be talking about his cut of Superman 2, which came out in 2006. I don't have it in front of me, but anyway,
something like
that.
The Donner cut of Superman 2. We've never talked about it before, but we're talking about it now, only to our subscribers though. So become one at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
Bye.